They got big egos, it's plain to see. I didn't leave the life left me. There ain't no honor in the life no more. They say they love you.
Hey, it's Tabasco, the Sophisticated Biker. Welcome to the Motorcycle Clubhouse. Today, I was wanting to talk about entitlement. You know what that is? It's when people think they're something special. Does your leadership think they're special? Or do they think you're special? Kind of what I'm wanting to talk about today. Kind of came to mind because I don't know if any of y'all are aware that the dock workers are getting ready to strike supposedly tomorrow, I believe. And that's going to cause quite a bit of havoc in an already a havoc situation with regard to the economy. And I'm wanting your opinion on that. Now, my opinion may not be the most popular, and that's usually the case. But I'm kind of wondering what your opinion of unions are. I think there was definitely a time when they were necessary. We also know how much they've been abused over the years in the big cities with regard to certain elements from other countries that came here. And I'm not talking about the immigration issue, we're talking about La Familia and things like that back in the day, concrete unions and the labor unions and such. But when it comes to modern times, I don't know how much involvement they have. I think we pretty much they were taken over and overshadowed by the other corrupt gang, which lives in D.C. and has their hand in everything now. They sorry about that. They were not. They were jealous. They weren't getting the money that the La Familia was. So, but so years ago when I was in telecommunications, I was a young lad, a telephone guy, and I remember we got called by AT&T. We were a private company. We installed phone systems, like mainly in private businesses, like grocery stores and doctors' offices and dentists and all that stuff, private business. And we got a call from AT&T wanting to contract us and every competitor like us because AT&T was on strike through the CWA, and they had an installation going on at a Tandy building, which was Radio Shack back in the day. Some of you kiddies don't know what that is, but it was one of the best places in the world you could go as a nerd if you had a nerd streak, because you could build anything out of that place. But I miss old Radio Shack. But they, so I don't know. I was like 20 some years old, maybe 21, 22, and we drove down there and crossed the picket line. I didn't have a clue what a picket line even was. And to me, it was a completely foreign concept because I did not grow up in a union environment. And so I had no idea what it was really about, to be honest with you. In fact, I didn't even know the CWA existed. That's Communications Workers Association, I believe. And since then, of course, I've grown up and I've worked for union contractors, not as a union employee, but as I administrated. I started a technology division years ago, did quite well in the union arena. And so I helped organize, I actually wrote the journeyman test for the data technicians in Ohio through the IBEW. And so I'm somewhat familiar with it. A very good friend of mine, an ex-father-in-law as well. he he was a card holding union member through the IBEW. And but I guess I got I guess I have always questioned, like, obviously the guys down at Tandy were pissed off at us for crossing their picket line, even though, again, I did not fully understand what it meant. And to be honest with you, I didn't give a shit because you know what? The way I saw it was, hey man, my family's got to eat too. Y'all want to squabble over pay? I'd love to get paid more too. Of course, I worked in the private sector. So you got raises when you got raises, and again, like the rest of the world, pretty much when you threaten to quit, or you're so pissed off you can't stand it no more, and they throw a buck or two at you, and you go back to work, right? So I didn't understand the unions back then saying, that like they were entitled to work, and we were taking their job. And I was like, no, you quit your work or you're not your job or whatever when you decided you weren't going to show up to work and do the work to get paid. And you know what? As far as I'm concerned, I'm an opportunist. I'm a realist. I'm not an optimist nor a pessimist. I'm just a realist. And I really needed to get paid. So wherever the work was, I did the work. I didn't give a shit. Um, I'm kind of thinking right now, and again, some of you are going to have some pretty strong feelings probably about this, and maybe I just still don't just understand it because now that I've spent 30 plus years as an adult working in the industry, and I headed up a IBEW division of a technology division of electrical contractor, and I'm very familiar with the process. You know, now I have even less use for the union, to be honest with you, because I know how to work the system. I know how to work it, you know, to get the techs, the guys that we needed, the foremen, journeymen. I understand the training process, and I do believe that it's a path. It's one of the few paths that exists for somebody to come out of school without and go into a blue collar trade, if that's what they call it, and actually earn a really good living or a decent as living as anybody else. And I'm okay with that. You know, if you can come in as a apprentice and learn and be taught, not waste your money on college, I'm all down for that. What I'm not down for is the entitlement that they feel like it comes with that. We saw it in the auto workers. You know, these guys are making good pay, and I'm not saying they're not worth it. I mean, the journeymen are just as seasoned as a foreman or superintendent would be on a job site, whether they were union or not union. So yeah, they should be at that scale. Union scale was always just a slightly higher than the private sector, at least in communications, but that's for good reason because you had to also pay dues. You also had to, you know, sometimes you were on layoff or on the books where you're waiting for work, so you weren't working 12 months a year. And that really, to me, sucked. I mean, I was charged with the task, and my buddy, my club brother, or not club brother, my ex father in law, he he ran the electrical side. I ran the technology side. I think they had about 100. I think he had like maybe 250 electricians, and I had maybe 150 data techs. Heading into the fourth quarter or over the holidays, you know, a lot of those job sites will, you know, they're off a lot more. You cut your crews down, especially coming over the first of the year. So we were told by the owner of the company to basically go out and get some beers and come up with a list. And he needed me to cut off like 90 guys, and he needed Terry to cut off like I think something like that, 60 or 70 guys, you know, and so they can get their whatever I forget what it was, their ticket back to the hall when you send them back to the hall, and that was like you know 3 weeks before Christmas, man. I felt like what was shit, man. I felt crummy. I felt like this, you know, I understood the business aspect because there wasn't going to be any work. I mean, it is what it is, but that really sucks for them. But on the other hand, you know, I never suffered that so much when I was in the field as a tech, as a telecommunications, because I mean, yeah, we might slow down, but we did service calls a lot too. So people's phone systems break, and most people work through the holidays. You know, big jobs. I find now as a consultant, a lot of times though, there's a lot of blackout dates they call them, where they don't want anybody working in IT on their systems because they're doing processing millions of dollars in business because of the holiday season, and I get that. But when I heard about this strike tomorrow, I started digging deep into it, and to me, again, it's that sense of entitlement. It's kind of like the automakers when we, the people, I guess, whatever, they say, well, we bailed them out because they give them the big subsidies from the government. Well, the government doesn't really give a shit about, you know, we don't really have a choice on how they spend our money anyway. But then they turn around and hand out like millions of dollars in bonuses to their executives in the auto industry. And I think that they were made to pay back that money to the government, which makes sense because they were released as I don't know if it was subsidies and then turned into grants, kind of like the PPP was during COVID, which I was able to participate in a little bit. I didn't get the hundreds of thousands of dollars because I'm an independent consultant, but it certainly helped. And for that, I thank you, America, because that's the only time I've ever gotten shit, except for maybe 6 weeks of $200 worth of unemployment a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, and that's all I've gotten from them in my whole life. So. But you know, with this strike, it just kind of brought me up to like, look, isn't the economy bad enough? Isn't the shit's just like so horrible? Everyone knows it. The Obviously the Senate or our representatives don't give two shits about it. Both politicians are going to lie until they're going to fix it. And I'm even less impressed now with Trump than I was before. Because again, remember, if you haven't watched this before, I'm politically agnostic. I don't believe in either side because I believe they're all owned, it's all scripted, and I think we're just an unwitting audience, and it has been that way for thousands and thousands of years. And that's just my opinion, and I'm not seeing otherwise. To be honest with you, there's not a president that's ever been elected that's ever changed my life for the better permanently. So I got nothing for any of them. The whole system, it was designed the way it works right now. It's not broken. It's actually working 100% at capacity, exactly the way the elite, rich forefathers established it. They've never broken a law with regard to the Constitution or Declaration of Independence because all of these loopholes existed for a reason, and that so the rich can get richer. It's always been that way. It'll always be that way as long as that government's in power, in my opinion. But anyway, when it comes to some of the discrepancies, I guess, between the I guess it's the International Longshoremen Association and the United States Maritime Alliance. So those are the two parties at odds. And I mean, like I've got some notes up here on some other screens, but basically, they had about the businesses make up the United States Maritime Alliance, or like Merck and stuff, the big shipping companies. And I don't know why they call it that because most of them are foreign entities anyway. But they had about a 3% profit, 3.7% profit 10 years ago. And the average increase in pay was about 2% for longshoremen. And that's the ports and the shipping, everything associated with transportation. And I get it. My sister actually told me about this was going to happen about 3 weeks ago, so I kind of been keeping an eye on it. But because she works in logistics, but here's the thing. So in the last 10 years, they've gone from a 2 or 3.7% profit and about 2% increase in benefits to post-COVID, and they are now the companies are now at like a 56% profit margin, which is absolutely stupid. I mean, that's unheard of. When I worked in big business, I ran $10 million divisions or branches for a company as a regional manager. I had offices in Baltimore and Philadelphia, or Allentown, Pennsylvania, Columbus, Ohio. And I had about a $20 million budget between all three offices. And we were, if we hit 13%, they thought we were awesome. We were rock stars. Most companies try to shoot for a 7 or 8. So a 56% profit margin is absolutely absurd. That's only come post-COVID. So because of I guess the trade routes between USA and Asia have gone up like 1,000%. It's supply and demand and blah 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 and whatever, and they couldn't ship stuff. So yeah, people want stuff. So of course we're going to charge you more for it. I mean that's just capitalism at its worst. That's what happens. That's the downside of capitalism. But so now, all of a sudden, these ILA members, the International Longshore Association, they want, negotiate a new contract, and they want like an 80% pay increase over the next 6 years. That's stupid too. You don't get it all at once. To me, it seems like you had a pretty shitty contract, and you should be looking back towards your, looking at your union leaders, in my opinion, as to why you guys had got 2% over these years. I can see usually it's 3 to 5% as a cost of living increase. If you get that annually, you're lucky. I know I worked 7 years for a company, and 3 of those under a W-2, not 1099. I didn't get one review or one raise, and it wasn't even thought of or talked about. So that's just a weird thing. I mean, the times are changing when it comes to how businesses run, and those profit margins are absurd. They should give out more, in my opinion, and not to the executives at the top. Make sure you cover your investors, your bases, because without that business, none of you have jobs, period. So profit's not a dirty word. I love it all the time when these people, they get so pissed off at, Walmart or Sam Walton or whoever, and they're like, oh, they're just a capitalist, and they're just a billionaire. You know what? Who gives a shit? You know what? You should be so lucky to start a business and then build it to a multi-billion-dollar corporation or entity. Yes, you have an obligation, in my opinion, to make it work, to make you're better off if you can make your employees enjoy going to work. I mean, it's a trick. You're right there, right? But they do. I mean, we're all debt slaves, and we're born debt slaves, and they own us. So, I mean, at least it'd be nice to make it enjoyable. When I did work at Abercrombie and Fitch, their campus is one of their main design campuses and distribution. they had a really laid back environment. I mean, people would wander around the campus, and this was up in Ohio, and they had fire rings outside. It was fall, and they had fire rings all over the campus, and the campus was kind of like a park. You walk through these paths, and they'd be holding meetings, like sitting on benches. It's kind of yuppie, shit. Same thing with Limited Brands. That was one of my customers, and I dealt with the LTS, and they were all super trendy. Look, they convinced their employees to wear those shoes and the outfits, especially the women are just sharp dressed, and they just really project this super professional, and they were paying them shit. I mean, super professional image on these clothes that they can't afford. I'm sure they get like, oh, I don't know, 10% discount on a shirt that costs like, I don't know, $3 to make in Asia, and they're selling over here for $300. But, it was a constant revolving door. No one ever stayed there because they weren't making any money. I think that's bad business, and it's taking advantage. And I think that's why LTS or the Limited Brands is not what it was. And Abercrombie, I don't even know if they're still in existence. But you got companies that will do a lot for their employees, and maybe they should do more. But here's the thing: I can tell you right now that Walmart puts millions and millions and millions, and Amazon puts millions and millions and millions of plates of food on the table for their employees. That they give them their life of their vacations, their kids going to college. You live within your means, you live below your means, so you stay within a budget. That ain't on them. And yeah, an executive who's got, I suppose the college deal, you do want business people trained. So guess what? I mean, if they got to go spend $60,000 to go to college, then by certain, and they can do a higher level job, I guess, then that's just the way society works. Wouldn't it be a wonderful thing? Wouldn't it be amazing if we reset the planet back the way it should have been in the beginning, where we actually value things that matter, like food, water, shelter, that we could provide for every human being on this planet? We have the technology and the means to do it, but those poor people don't have enough shiny rocks or dirty linen paper in their bank account to give us to get them clean water. Isn't that what if we? I still say that aliens got to think we're nuts, man. They're like, oh yeah, they got this. Used to be, we don't even have the shiny rock of gold anymore. It used to be, oh, this shiny rock here is worth all kinds of this dirty paper, this linen that you have in your pocket. And the more of that you have, then the better off you are. And give me more of your dirty linen, and give me more of your shiny rock, so I can be somebody. Instead of saying, let's value. No one has to pay. And again, I know I don't have all the answers. You don't want to reward the lazy, but they do. They get rewarded anyway, right? You got people with that don't want to lift a finger, that just hands always out. We got all kinds of issues. I'm not trying to solve those. I'm just saying there's a sense of entitlement when it comes to these unions. And look, this ain't the time to be playing games, man, shutting down ports, because guess what that's going to do? It's going to drive up prices anymore. So who in the hell side are you on? Well, it sounds like you're on your own side to me, because you don't give a shit about the rest of us that are already suffering to pay our bills and to put food on the table. So let's make it even harder on American people, because you want 80% increase over the next 5 years. Look, their climb to the 56% profit margin only happened post-COVID. And yes, they're price gouging. You know who pays for all that? We, the people, pay for that. It all gets passed on to us. That's why prices are so high. It's how inflation works. But instead of striking to stop the problem, what you're doing is you're striking to say, give me more of that. Give me more of that you're screwing the American people out of, because I need more in my pocket, instead of resolving it. I think we need less workers, not more workers. We need a single family income that can afford to live like Leave It to Beaver, Ozzie and Harriet, whoever it was. And some of you kids have to look that up on the black and white TV shows on I don't know what the hell, it's not history. I don't know what the hell, Turner Classic or something, Turner Classic or something. But it's back in the day when a family could live middle class and have a car. They didn't need to have two cars. They didn't have, but they had a nice middle class home. They raised their kids. They weren't broke. One parent could work out of the home. The mom or whomever could raise the kids at home. I'm not saying it should be the mom. I'm just saying somebody raised their kids instead of daycare raising them, indoctrinating them in a bunch of lies and everything else. And we don't need. We don't need more workers. We have fewer jobs because technology is taken up. That's another contention that they have, that the Longshoremen Association has with them, is that they're pissed off because of technology eliminating jobs. Well, guess what? Wake the fuck up, people. Just because you can hammer out a cave with a chisel and a mallet doesn't mean you should. Not when we have excavators. So times change. You know what? Adapt and overcome, and realize that go get to school and get a degree to work the computers that run the programs, the robotics and stuff. I don't know what to tell you, but all I can say is that they're going to stop technology. They literally are telling them to not be efficient, to instead just hire more people. That doesn't work either, and you're screwing the American people. And again, to me, that's 100% entitlement. They think that they're worth that 80% increase. Yeah, maybe you have gotten, should have had a raise sooner. Don't look at the companies. Look at if they go out of business, you got zero, zero, nothing on your plate, on your table. So, but it sounds to me like your union leaders didn't do a good job, man. I mean, and talk about ownership. It's the same as with any commerce. When my buddy Terry, he left that company, as did I, because the head guy was a prick, and he was filthy rich, and he's going to keep it that way. And we were making good money, but we weren't even close to what his money. But then again, it's his company, man. He started it from his house, and he built this thing up. He got the funding to back so he could do bonds and stuff. That's not. It takes money to be successful in business or get him really going. That's a higher level. And you know what? I mean, he again bought my kids Christmas presents, put food on my table, right? So who am I to bitch about it? But I had another opportunity, and he was becoming impossible and kind of hypocritical to work for. So when Terry quit, he went to another company, electrical contractor, big one in the area, and they were non-union. And you know what? He got fined $10,000 for leaving the union and taking a non-union job. Now, he had not worked in the field. So in other words, he was still a union card holder. He still paid dues because he chose to. He didn't have to, because he had been in the office for probably 6 or 7 years at that point as an estimator and project manager, and he worked his way up to where he ran the division of the electrical. And that means they didn't do shit for him. They took his money. He didn't even participate, I don't believe, in the benefits. I mean, maybe the retirement, you keep contributing. But I mean, we had benefits in the office. As an office employee, the union doesn't cover that. So when it comes like the electrical, so that was covered under an employment agreement with the owner, and so they didn't do anything for him. They didn't get him pay increases or anything, but yet they fined him and won $10,000 fine penalty against him for going out and getting a better job for a non-union company. Again, entitlement. You know what? It's hypocritical, man. I was down there and I saw it, and just like everything else, it's just about putting money in their freaking pockets, man, out of your pocket and mine. That's just my opinion of unions. And I think just like our government, they've outlived their usefulness. There was a time, wage and hour, labor laws, people being taken advantage, unsafe workplaces. I get all that. Oh yeah, by the way, that's what the non-citizens have to put up with. So all you people that are all for this, importation of people undocumented, they're getting fully taken advantage of. They're getting screwed. They're getting underpaid. They're getting put in unsafe work conditions because guess what? Technically, they're not even here. So you're not. That's what you're supporting when you support that. They're not protected by any laws because they don't exist. So within labor laws and stuff like that, because they're getting paid cash most of the time. Now, I'm not talking about legal. I'm not talking about asylum seekers. I'm talking about the illegals that are here. If they're trying to work, they're working cash. And again, all that does is make an unfair advantage to the rest of the business and trying to do things legit. So again, there's nothing good for not just for the American people, not just for American businesses, but also for the immigrants themselves, because they're being fully taken advantage of, and they have been. And this government owes them a huge apology and definitely a ticket home if they have living in parks and they have nowhere to live, nothing to eat half the time. Some of them seems like have surplus of EBT. I don't know, but I know a couple of them who have no EBT. So I don't, I mean, I can't solve all the problems in the world. I'm just here to motivate people and push buttons. That's what I do. Give me just a second here. Okay, I'm back. So how does that tie into the motorcycle life? Your leadership. Are they entitled? Now, I had a little backstabbing bitch who was in our ranks, who I actually befriended. I showed him around. I introduced him to people at high levels and other organizations because I was actually trying to train my replacement. In my opinion, if you're in a leadership position in any motorcycle club, you have an obligation to train your replacement. You can't sit there. Some of you arrogant motherfuckers who sit there and say that I want to be the forever boss. They tried that in our organization too. One narcissist. I mean, capital narcissist, dude. It's insane, the guys that get up to the top and get this swollen head. Like, I want to be, I'm the forever boss, trying to cancel elections. It sounds like what people are trying to say Trump's going to do, but yet he didn't do it the last time, 4 years, and you're not going to get away with it, and no matter who you are. So that's just another BS, shit they're throwing out there to cloud up everything. Ain't nobody going to take over and cancel elections. Period. It never happened. It never will, because the next millionaire behind them wants his shot at getting to be a bazillionaire too. So you know what? And that's how clubs a lot of times upset. That's how clubs change power. Is I know for a fact, 100% fact, on more than one occasion, where the leadership of a club was taken out by underlings intentionally, whether a dime was dropped on him or he was put in a situation to fail, so that they could take over. It's hostile takeover. It happens in business. It happens in club life. But you also have the opposite of that, where you get these people up in leadership, and they think they, again, I covered this last week, but they think they are the leader. No, that's a sense of entitlement. Now, they take advantage of rules that other people don't, that are imposed on the membership. Again, remember, this is a volunteer organization that you're a part of. You're not on parole. You're not on house arrest. You don't have an ankle bracelet. It's supposed to be fun. Is your club fun? I had a lot of fun. And I probably had some of the most, well, I know I did, some of the most stress of my life. 3 different occasions that people tried to come at me and do me harm. I had a bounty for 3 years on my cut. The last 3 years that I was in before, and that's not why I left, because I called the person that put it on me and said, you know what, come get it, man. I'll just meet you at a schoolyard. How about that? How about we go to the school meeting in the recess yard, and no knives, no, we want to do, no cameras to take flashbangs and all that. And you know what? If you whip me, you might whoop me, man. I don't know. I said, if you do, then you can take my cut, but you're gonna have to explain to my nation why you have it. Or you could just man up and stop this stupid shit, trying to encourage some tweaker somewhere to take a shot at me on my motorcycle while I'm sitting at a traffic light, for a bounty that you're not going to pay anyway. Because he shows up at your door with my bloody rag, you're going to kick his ass and accuse him of accusing you of doing something like that. And look, this ain't my first rodeo. People, give me a break. But I can tell you that they get in these positions and they get a sense of entitlement where they don't have to do this. Like, so we had house duty. Most clubs do. Florida's really weird, man. I mean, I've never come to a state, I've never seen so many clubs, number one, as this melting pot down here in Florida. And again, I got along with all of them. I don't know if there was any that we didn't get along with, except for, of course, like Iron Odor, but they don't even really count. That's not really a club anyway. They already have their gang. It's called the True Blue. But yeah, they got to run around and pretend like they're us. And they're not, because it's not a game, it's a lifestyle. But anyway, so, and I just couldn't believe that the clubhouses weren't open. Like, I would talk to the club and be like, "You guys open this weekend?" "Oh no, we'll probably be open, like, I don't know, September 25th or something." I'm like, huh? I mean, up north, every club I know, including clubs that are down here too, we're open every Friday, Saturday, Sunday. In fact, when we opened the chapter up over here where I'm at, I expanded our state from basically one chapter in 22 years in one county, which they've run, to a total of 4 chapters. And I had shut one down, so I had to merge the 2 that were 30 minutes apart. And anyway, we did some transitioning, and I got it built up to about 50, 60 guys. And again, that's not our biggest state, but it went from about 18 guys and went to like almost 60 before everything started falling apart due to the national leadership. But anyway, long story short, you know, I never skipped out on anything. We have house duty, so we go in rotation. You have a Friday or a Saturday night. You usually could work it out on the schedule with the secretary, and that way you just knew third Friday of the month or whatever. That was your duty night. That's when you have your canteen time where you have to run the canteen, and usually there's a couple guys there to run it too, at least for us. Safety and all that. And you know what? You had your regulars and the people, we used to call it dialing for dollars. And my guys never did get that, half of them. And again, I remember, your club's only as smart as the dumbest member, and there's no IQ test to be a member. So, but they'd be texting the membership when they're there all by themselves or with their old lady, when nobody in the clubhouse is not kicking like it is like when some of us that are there have our house night, because you didn't call anybody. Well, you're calling us. What are you calling me for? I already paid dues. I pay the bills there. This is to collect other donations from people, so that we can expand and have extra money and do things and sell T-shirts and build support and recruit and all that. And you're calling the membership text. Was anybody coming out tonight? Well, who the hell did you call? I was the POP of one club, and that was top guy because we didn't have national. We were only in one state. It was a set intermediary club that rolled over to the big one, last big one, and so I was the POP, president of presidents, if you know what that means. And so I expanded that one. We had one chapter, 12 guys, and again around 50 some guys, and I think 4 or 5 chapters when we rolled 3 over to a bigger diamond club. But the other one still exists. There's like 1 or 2 of those chapters up north still, and I talk to them all the time. They're still my brothers and friends. I didn't tell them to go my way. I went my way purely for selfish reasons, and I told them that we're not going to be big enough to expand into other states ever, most likely, because it's not as popular as it was at one time. And I need a national club, and I've got basically people I feel are family in this diamond club. They've known me anyway since I was born or a kid, and so I just grew up in that whole community. So I had some options there to look at. And, other than the last, segment of leadership when the real leaders passed away and the guys that were righteous and it took over by a bunch of narcissists, it was a great club. And unfortunately, it will probably never be that way again. In fact, I mean, I know for a fact it'll never be that way again. But anyway, the thing I didn't do a bar duty as the head guy, the number one guy in this whole entire state, plus a national board. I didn't do a bar duty. Now we had enough guys. I could do bar duty, and I would cover. And I don't mind jumping behind the bar at the canteen for donations and stuff. But I have I'm worried about the bigger picture, and I'm meeting with other big clubs. I mean, ones and you try to, you want to be able to communicate and it's not that you're asking permission. You're respectfully notifying if you want to expand to a different area and they happen to be there. It's just my big political thing, man. To which I've never gotten paid a dime for, by the way, and most of us don't. Not everyone, but most of us. And so I'm busy, and the last thing I need to be worried about is, oh shit, I forgot I got bar duty tonight when I've got a meeting with a president or a national officer or somebody of another huge club. So it just kind of goes with the territory. It wasn't to take advantage. I'm the guy as the number one guy in the state that you would see taking the trash out as we're having a big party. And I walk by a trash can, it's full. I grab the bag, take it to the dumpster. And some guys, again, wrongly in my opinion, they could be right. Like, man, you can't do that. That looks bad. Really? What house did you grow up in? Because I got my ass smacked. If I walked by a full trash can and didn't take it to the dumpster on the farm I grew up in, and it doesn't matter who you are. So that little petty stuff like that don't bother me. I don't care. And again, big parties, you're trying to rotate people in and out of position. I'll pick up a position, but we weren't assigned position. My top leadership wasn't, because we're floating and we're having sidebars and we're having conversations with the other leaders. That's just part of the job that we have to do. 7 days a week, 24/7, man. It didn't stop for years. So it's not being entitled. It's because I think that somebody in that position, whomever it is, it was me at the moment. It was me. It's not me now, right? So that's why I try to tell people, you ain't the president. You're fulfilling the position of the president. It's a position with or without you. So but that person who holds that position, probably his time is better spent in other areas than standing behind, serving up soda pops, for donations. So that's the point. It's not about entitlement. It's about being in the most important position or the right place where you need to be, depending on your position. Just like guard duty with our warlords. We didn't roll them behind, in the canteen behind the bar to sell soda pops for, a donation, or not sell, but to, exchange. You know what I'm saying? Wink. Isn't that crazy? I gotta be like, I gotta be super careful because Big Brother might be listening. Oh, they are listening. They've been listening to me for years, and they're probably tired of hearing me talk. But and that's the biggest hypocritical. That's the biggest racket in the whole world, is the street thugs in blue, because they're just out there. Think about the amount of money they suck up every single day in every single city, in every township, in every county, in every state. I mean, I can't even imagine the amount of money they're sucking that all up into the judicial system. you know. And a lot of times, even if you went to court for something stupid, even a traffic violation, and you wanted to fight it because of the points, you could plead no contest. You wouldn't get the points against your license, so the racketeering insurance companies could charge you more. But as long as you pay them court fines before you leave it, you know, dismiss with a whatever $180 fine for the ticket and $200 in court costs. Oh, I mean, oh my God! Don't even get me started on that. These thieves up there in D.C. and everywhere, every at the local, the state, and the national level, the whole thing is a racket, man. It's a racket designed for us to be. We're basically born into slavery, debt slavery. Every single one of us. I'm not belittling the slave history, the actual slaves. I'm just saying we are debt slaves because every one of us is born owing at some point or put into a system where we're just chickens in a cubicle laying eggs, produce, man. And for as little as they want to pay us, and I always try to do as little as possible in exchange for that, if I could. And that's not true, but it sounds cool. I want to get paid the most money for as little work as possible, and that's actually true. But anyway, yeah, I think that yeah, this just irritates me about this strike, man, tomorrow, because if it goes off, and they're saying it already has, they're saying the trains have already stopped accepting freight because they don't want to get stuck with perishables and stuff on their cars on the track. So it's inevitable, I guess. We'll find out tomorrow on Tuesday, which will be the October 1st. If it's true. And guess what's going to happen? All of a sudden there's shortages. All of a sudden, so they're trying to hold. It's a shame that they have to hold these companies hostage to get a fair wage or to get an increase. But on the other hand, blame your leadership of your organizations that's taking that money and finding you $10,000 and taking that money out of your paycheck every month, and everything else, because they should have negotiated a better plan. It's not the company's fault for being more profitable. It's your representative's fault for not getting you more of that. So they sound like pretty shitty negotiators, and now they want it all at once. There ain't a company out there that can pay 80% pay increase over the next 5 years. That's just stupid. And the fact that they made a climb to, 53% in profit margin over that same time is also stupid. But instead of fixing it, you just want to participate in it so you can fill your pockets. And I'm not down with that. That's all I'm saying. So I shall keep you no longer. Obviously, pay no attention to the cardboard boxes behind me. As I had mentioned in the last podcast, that the Casa de Tabasco is moving. We're going to be mobile for a minute until maybe the house prices come back down. A lot of stuff going on here, trying to get the house ready to sell. And we're going to do some traveling, and we're going to then settle somewhere, hopefully. If I got to kind of wait out the real estate market and see if I can buy something that's not ridiculous, because where I'm at currently, 3-4 years ago, about 14,000 an acre, and it's 50,000 an acre. Everyone has lost their mind. Am I the only? I can't be the only one who's sick and freaking tired of everybody's hand in my pocket, man. I need to put my hands in somebody's pocket, please. This is ridiculous because it's just like pay. Nobody wants to give me no money. Hey, and by the way, we saw advertising on our Sophisticated Biker website, and we have a tremendous following of the most righteous motorcycle enthusiasts, bikers, clubbers, everything in the world. You name it, and I'm talking about the world. I mean, there are 28 countries, and we have the membership site, which is free to join, and you can do a pay level at like $4.99 a month. You cheap bastards, come off some jack, will you? Spread some cheese on this poor cracker because I'm going drowning down here in Florida. And that's not the hurricane. And the other two that are supposed to be on their way. There's some more good news. The one thing about social media, I didn't use it. I mean, literally, I used Meta only to keep track of family, friends at home until I started the Sophisticated Biker brand and the Twisted Wind Biker Mag. And then it's an effective and affordable way, or like no money spent, barely like me, to just promote market your business. I see the value in that, but unfortunately, staying on top of trends means you have to watch it all the time or often. Now, it taught me so much. I learned where to go to learn how to do things I didn't know how to do with producing of the digital magazine, but you get all this other stuff. I'm woke, yeah, I'm wide awake, but ignorance was bliss, man. I was really happy being dumb as shit and not realizing what a shit show we've been living in for about 300,000 years on this planet, and everything, and the level of deceit and lies and manipulation and theft that's going on. I mean, you expect some on the pedophilia. I mean, what's with that? What's with the whole, not just the pedophilia thing, but I mean, look, be gay if you want to be gay. Don't be bitching at me, calling me homophobic. I got gay friends. People say, I got white friends. If you're being called racist if you're black, well, I got white friends, or I'll be, oh, I got black friends. Look, fuck off. I don't explain myself to anybody. I don't even give a shit what anybody thinks about me. But I don't understand the whole lie. That's why I don't. That's why I'm not down with. I don't care if you're this, that, the other, whatever. But you're not special. But don't make you special. You don't get days, and you don't get to say we just want to be treated like everybody else. But we want parades and we want a month all named after us. And everything. No. That's not being normal. That's not. You should be as special as a normal middle-aged white guy like me, because we are becoming the minority. Trust me. And don't tell me I got privilege, because I'm gonna tell you what. I got no. It depends on what neighborhood you're in, right? They say, well, white privilege isn't just money. It's not just esteem. Because I can guarantee you, it ain't money. I've been profiled. I've been held at gunpoint. I've been, you name it. I've been fought for my life with a LE one time that either one of us could have died. And look, it wasn't even my fault. I know you never met a guilty criminal, but it really wasn't my fault. It was unrelated to the law, put it that way. It was happened to be with my roommate with his girlfriend, which I did this day I moved in. That's a whole nother podcast. Some of you know the story, but yeah, for about an hour I fought this guy, and we almost shot each other a couple of times. But I'm kind of glad now we didn't. Now I'm a little too old to wrestle in the snow for an hour or 45 minutes in the north in the winter. So I probably just have to take his picture, now. So, but yeah, glad I didn't then, I guess. I don't know. Really don't give a shit either. If I would have, I was justified, put it that way. Of course, until we sued the county and the sheriff's department, because they have the insurance, right? The policies. And, fortunately for them, they brought in a presiding judge from the county south, which is Columbus, Ohio, and they found them. So they thoroughly investigated themselves and found themselves not guilty. Now this dude's in a cruiser. He's on duty. He's being paid while he's there, trying to kill this woman and my roommate and me, and he could have killed me. He put a camera right into my throat. I was 20. What was I? 23 years old. And I physically fought this dude. He was trying to get to her and him down the stairs, over a balcony, 8-foot drop off to the ground, fighting until we're both so gassed we couldn't even fight anymore. And he's like, I'm like, are you done? And I was latching on for life, man. Long story, but they found themselves not guilty because he wasn't in the act of doing his job. Now, if he put his knee on my neck like he did with Floyd, then I could sue him, but I'd already be dead. See, if he'd done that, or he'd have shot me, I could sue him. Shot me in the face or the head, or whatever. Probably no. Actually, they probably wouldn't have. They found themselves not guilty because he wasn't there to arrest me. They're only responsible if he was like there trying to do his job duty and violated my civil rights. Now he was found guilty of the civil violation, and I think I have I don't even know, $1.3 million or something claim against this guy. Guess what? He never collected a dime of it. He never had shit in his name. He was a felon. He went to jail because of it. His family was well known. There's some houses that were inherited. He ain't none of them in his name. I guarantee you. When his parents passed, they're not stupid. And the thing is, the truth is, I got a phone call, I don't know, 5 years ago, saying that his parents had passed. His mother or somebody had finally passed, and him and his sister probably had inherited about 3 houses. Again, that was before the big market jump. And I was asked, do I want to reinitiate the case or the whatever it is, the claim against them that we were awarded, whatever. And I said no, because at the time, I mean, we're doing fine, man. I worked my life. I did my thing. I made the income I made on my own. Since I was about 13 years old. And it's been whatever, a long time, 20, 30 years, I don't know. And look, man, he's married, he got 2 kids. And he struggled his life because of bad decisions that he made. And I know many of you be like, oh, fuck, he was a fucking music. Look, that boy paid a price with his life, the one life to live, and he ruined his career, and he got an education. He went to prison. I didn't need to take food off his table, man. I'm doing just fine. I got food on my table. I don't need to take food off his table. I don't need to take his parents' houses, his kids' inheritance, or whatever's gonna happen. I don't need it, man. You know what? I do the right thing every time, whether anybody else does or not, and that maintains my integrity and respect. not just in the life but just in life in general. I would suggest that these union people think about that, whether they go out there and cry and bitch about wanting to. They've been offered like a 40% increase in the next over the next 5 years each year for the next 5 years to get caught up to where they were, but that's not good enough. They want 80%. Man, get your head out of your ass and get your hands out of my pocket, because what you're going to do is drive prices up even further, so we can't even buy toilet paper, and we'll be wiping our ass with, I don't know, seaweed. Keep it real.
It's plain to see I didn't leave the life left me. There ain't no honor in the life no more. They say they love you, but like a fitting kind of whore. There ain't no honor in the life no more. They playing games and we about to war. Keep your head on a swivel and watch your back, or you can fuck around with